What happens when you step beyond the last marked trail, when the map ends and the wilderness decides you no longer belong to the world you came from? Before we begin, imagine this wind moving through trees, distant birds suddenly going silent, and the creeping realization that if something goes wrong out here, no one will hear you. Welcome back to the channel, where we explore real mysteries that exist beyond comfort and explanation. And if you're drawn to true unsolved cases, real disappearances, and stories that challenge what we think we understand about the world, make sure to subscribe and stay with us, because tonight we're confronting one of the most terrifying realities imaginable. People who vanished without a trace in remote locations, not centuries ago, but in modern times, places where search teams, technology, and experience should have provided answers, yet instead left behind only unanswered questions, empty landscapes, and the chilling possibility that the wilderness can erase a human being completely. And in this episode, we'll carefully examine 3 real cases, each different, each disturbing, and each defined by the same impossible outcome. Someone walked into the wild and simply ceased to exist. Our first case takes us deep into a vast national park, where a seasoned hiker set out on a familiar trail under clear skies, carrying proper gear, supplies, and experience. A person who understood terrain, weather, and risk, making their disappearance all the more baffling. Because when they failed to return, search teams mobilized quickly, covering miles of ground, deploying helicopters, tracking dogs, and volunteers. Yet no footprints led away from the trail. No torn clothing was found. No signs of a fall, struggle, or animal attack appeared, and personal items that should have been scattered were never recovered, despite weather conditions that should have preserved evidence, with the last confirmed sighting placing them in a well-traveled area where vanishing without being noticed seemed impossible, giving rise to theories ranging from sudden medical emergencies to disorientation. Yet none could explain how an adult could disappear so completely, leaving behind no trace, no sound, no signal, only the unsettling sense that something unseen intervened, turning an ordinary hike into a permanent absence. The second case pushes even farther from civilization, into the unforgiving Alaskan wilderness, where a lone hunter with extensive survival knowledge entered a remote region known for its harsh terrain and minimal human presence, equipped with weapons, supplies, and communication gear. Yet, after missing a scheduled check-in, search efforts uncovered something deeply unsettling: no tracks in the snow leading away, no signs of camp disturbance, no evidence of injury or animal confrontation, despite conditions that should have preserved every movement, with experts noting that even in extreme environments, some indication of fate is usually found. But here there was only absence, as if the land itself had erased him, fueling speculation about rare natural phenomena, sudden environmental hazards, or something far more disturbing. Because for someone so prepared to vanish without leaving even the smallest clue challenges everything we understand about survival, terrain, and human limits, leaving behind a void so complete it feels intentional. The third case is perhaps the most unsettling, because it involves someone whose job was to protect others from the dangers of the wild. A highly experienced park ranger conducting routine duties in a remote mountain range, familiar with every trail, weather pattern, and hazard, when a radio transmission abruptly cut off mid-sentence, triggering an immediate response. Yet when teams arrived, they found the ranger's equipment neatly placed. No signs of panic, no evidence of struggle, and no body. Despite exhaustive searches covering ravines, forests, and ridgelines, with investigators unable to explain why a trained professional would abandon essential gear or fail to leave tracks, raising fears that even expertise offers no guarantee of safety, and that certain places may hold risks beyond preparation, beyond logic, and beyond our ability to defend ourselves. When we look at these 3 cases together, patterns emerge not of carelessness, but of sudden, total erasure. Each disappearance marked by preparedness, experience, and circumstances that should have left answers, yet instead produced silence, leaving families suspended in grief, without closure, unable to mourn, unable to hope, trapped in an endless question of what happened, while the wilderness remains unchanged, vast and indifferent, holding its secrets without explanation, forcing us to confront an uncomfortable truth that there are places on this planet where certainty ends, where technology fails, and where human presence can be undone in moments. And as we close, consider this final question: when you walk into the wild, are you exploring it, or merely borrowing time in a realm that does not acknowledge you at all? And if you have encountered local legends, family stories, or unexplained disappearances tied to remote places, share them respectfully below, because some paths, once taken, are never found again. Imagine this for a moment. You lock your door, turn off the lights, and settle into bed believing you are safe, because that belief is almost automatic, ingrained since childhood. The idea that once you cross your threshold, the outside world stays out. But what if that belief is the greatest illusion of all? Welcome back to the channel, where we explore true stories that expose the fragile boundaries between safety and terror. And if you're new here and drawn to real psychological horror, true crime, and deeply unsettling experiences, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because tonight we're confronting one of the most disturbing realities imaginable: home invasions by unknown intruders, not the kind you see in action movies, but quiet, calculated, and often invisible. Intrusions where there are no broken windows, no forced locks, just the horrifying realization that someone was inside your home without your knowledge, watching, moving, existing in the same space you trusted with your life. And as we move through real survivor accounts, psychological analysis, and modern prevention insights, remember, these stories don't begin with violence. They begin with a sound, a feeling, or a moment of doubt that turns a sanctuary into a trap. One of the most chilling cases comes from a woman who woke just after midnight to what she thought was her house settling. A soft creak from downstairs, easily dismissible, until she heard it again. Slower, deliberate, followed by the unmistakable sound of a drawer closing. And as she lay frozen, heart racing, she realized every door had been locked, every alarm set. Yet someone was moving through her home, not rushing, not panicking, but calmly, as if they belonged there. Later discovering items slightly displaced and muddy footprints that vanished at the back door. While another case unfolded in broad daylight, when a family returned home to find their kitchen chairs rearranged, food missing from the refrigerator, and a bathroom window unlocked from the inside. Security footage later revealing an intruder entering hours earlier, silently moving room to room while the homeowners slept upstairs, creating a uniquely disturbing sense of violation. Because unlike robbery, nothing was taken of value, suggesting the intrusion itself was the point. And across these stories, the shared thread is not physical harm, but the moment of realization that the danger wasn't hypothetical, it was present, unseen, and close enough to hear them breathe. What makes unknown intrusions so psychologically devastating is not just the risk of harm, but the complete destruction of trust in one's environment, because the human mind relies on predictable boundaries to feel safe. And when those boundaries are breached without warning or explanation, the brain enters a state of constant alert, replaying scenarios, questioning every sound, every shadow, every locked door. Survivors often reporting long-term effects such as insomnia, anxiety, hypervigilance, and a persistent belief that someone is still watching, even years later. A phenomenon psychologists link to the intimacy of the crime, as the home is where identity, routine, and vulnerability coexist, making its violation deeply personal. And unlike crimes with clear perpetrators or motives, unknown intrusions leave no narrative closure, only unanswered what-ifs that continue feeding fear, turning ordinary moments, like hearing footsteps above you or finding an object out of place, to triggers that resurrect the terror long after the intruder is gone. As unsettling as these stories are, understanding how intrusions occur is critical, because modern home invasions often exploit overlooked vulnerabilities rather than brute force, including unlocked secondary entrances, predictable routines, poor lighting, compromised smart home systems, or social engineering tactics, where intruders gather information before ever stepping inside, with experts warning that technology can be both a safeguard and a weakness if not properly secured, making proactive awareness essential, such as varying daily routines, reinforcing physical entry points, maintaining exterior visibility, and treating unusual disturbances seriously rather than dismissing them, while emphasizing preparedness without paranoia, because true security is not about fear, but informed vigilance, empowering homeowners to reduce risk while maintaining peace of mind in a world where threats increasingly rely on silence rather than violence. For those who have lived through an unknown intrusion, reclaiming one's home is not a single act, but a process that involves rebuilding confidence, restoring control, and acknowledging trauma rather than minimizing it, often requiring professional support, trusted community connections, and intentional changes that reassert ownership of space, because healing does not mean forgetting what happened, but refusing to let it define the future. And as we close, consider this: awareness does not mean living in fear. It means understanding that safety is an active relationship with our surroundings, one strengthened by empathy, knowledge, and shared vigilance. So if you or someone you know has experienced something similar, because sometimes the most powerful defense against unseen threats is simply refusing to remain silent about them. Imagine holding the keys to your dream home for the very first time, breathing in the scent of fresh paint, untouched floors, and new beginnings, believing without question that this place is safe because no one has lived here before. But what if that assumption is wrong? Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover true stories that challenge comfort and certainty. And if you're new here and fascinated by real paranormal encounters, unsettling mysteries, and true life horror rooted in reality, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because tonight we're exploring a disturbing paradox: brand new homes that should represent fresh starts, yet quickly become stages for inexplicable and terrifying events, where families discover that walls can remember, land can imprint, and history doesn't disappear just because it's been buried beneath concrete and drywall, forcing us to confront the unsettling idea that new does not always mean empty, and that some echoes survive construction, paperwork, and time itself. Our first account begins with a family who moved into a newly built smart home, complete with automated lighting, speakers, and security systems, only to experience strange malfunctions within weeks: lights turning on by themselves, doors unlocking without commands, and most chilling of all, a soft lullaby playing through the house speakers late at night, despite no music being programmed, with technicians finding no faults and system logs showing no activation, while objects began shifting slightly between rooms, toys appearing where they didn't belong, and cold spots forming in hallways never exposed to drafts, prompting researchers to consider whether the land itself held residual energy, possibly tied to an unmarked burial site or forgotten settlement disturbed during construction, reminding us that while buildings may be new, the ground beneath them carries centuries of human emotion, trauma, and memory, raising an uncomfortable question: can land remember? And if so, what happens when we build over it? The second case centers on a young family who believed their newly constructed suburban home was perfect, until their toddler began reacting to something unseen in their bedroom, laughing, pointing at corners, crying at night, and eventually speaking about the man in the wall, followed by parents hearing whispers through the baby monitor long after their child was asleep, shadows moving against freshly painted walls, and fingerprints appearing on windows from the inside, leaving professionals divided between psychological explanations like stress and sleep deprivation, and paranormal theories involving imprinting, the idea that intense emotional events can transfer onto new materials through the land itself, creating manifestations that appear real regardless of belief, blurring the line between imagination and terror, and leaving families questioning their own sanity while desperately searching for answers. In the third account, a luxury condominium complex was built atop land later discovered to have once been a Civil War battlefield, a detail omitted from public records and real estate disclosures, where residents began reporting a recurring apparition in shared hallways, phantom footsteps synchronized between floors, and the sound of distant shouting during the early morning hours, all captured by security cameras that showed empty corridors, leading to debates about ethical responsibility. Should builders and sellers disclose historical trauma, even when it's not legally required? And what happens when modern living spaces unknowingly resurrect the unresolved past, as residents face declining mental health, insomnia, anxiety, and financial loss when attempting to sell, proving that paranormal experiences have real-world consequences far beyond fear? When we step back and examine these stories together, a chilling truth emerges: construction does not erase history, it can awaken it. And whether explained by psychology, residual energy, or something we have yet to understand, these experiences force us to reconsider what home truly means, especially when the past refuses to stay buried. And as you sit where you are now, surrounded by walls you trust, ask yourself this final question: how certain are you that your home is truly empty? And if you've ever experienced unexplained events in a new place, share your story respectfully below. Because sometimes the most terrifying echoes aren't found in old ruins, but in brand new walls, still learning how to remember.